There is a specific kind of invisibility that starts happening to women after 40, and most of them cannot name it, but they feel it. The room doesn't shift when they walk in anymore. People's eyes don't find them. And somewhere, quietly, they start believing that's what aging is. It is not. What I have watched, in 20 years of moving through rooms where appearance, presence, and self-possession matter enormously, is that the women who become more magnetic with age are not doing more. They have simply stopped doing a very specific set of things that erode the signal they send before they speak a single word. Today, I'm giving you 7 of them. Not vague suggestions. The exact mistakes, the grooming errors, the wardrobe defaults, the skincare neglect, the fragrance misunderstandings, that quietly communicate low self-investment to every room a woman enters after 40. And for each one, I'm going to give you the elegant alternative. Stay until the end. I have a free gift somewhere in this video waiting for you. The Elegant Morning Routine Checklist. 12 rituals of women who are timeless, healthy, and undeniable after 40. I'll tell you exactly where to get it, but only if you stay. 1. The grooming mistake that signals low self-investment. Let me start with the one that most women don't see coming, because it is so ordinary, so habitual, that it has become invisible to the women who are doing it. Most women get this wrong, not out of neglect, but out of efficiency. They believe they are making a neutral choice. I want to show you why it isn't neutral at all, and why the elegant alternative actually takes less time. But first, there is something you need to understand. When I was working in luxury fashion, I was in a lot of rooms where first impressions were the entire transaction. A stylist I worked closely with used to say, "The detail that registers first is always the one the woman stopped paying attention to." She was almost always talking about the same thing, the brows. Specifically, brows that have been left to thin, fade, or drift into a shape that belongs to a decade the woman has already left. Research published in the journal Frontiers in Psychology found that brow fullness and shape are among the primary visual cues humans use to assess youth, health, and, critically, alertness and authority. Thinned, overplucked, or ignored brows read neurologically as fatigue and disengagement. A woman I know, a partner at a law firm in her late 40s, genuinely formidable in every professional context, came to me once frustrated that she was being read as tired in client meetings. Nothing had changed in her wardrobe or her preparation. What had changed, slowly, was her brows. They had thinned significantly through her 40s, and she had compensated with nothing. I told her. She spent $45 and one appointment correcting it. She told me 3 weeks later the feedback had changed. The resolve: stop treating brows as optional. A tinted brow gel, Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Freeze, or the simpler option, a pencil in your exact natural shade, takes 90 seconds and restructures how every feature above your cheekbones reads. You do not need to do more. You need to stop doing nothing. Because the grooming signal is only one layer. The next mistake is olfactory, invisible, and it may be doing more damage to how you are remembered than anything on your face. 2. The fragrance error. Most women approach fragrance as an accessory, something added on occasion, rotated by season or mood or what was on sale. I want to show you why that approach is costing you something irreplaceable. But first, there is something you need to understand about how scent actually works in social memory. The Monell Chemical Senses Center in Philadelphia has published extensive research showing that olfactory memory is processed through the limbic system, the oldest, most emotional part of the brain, bypassing the analytical filters that process visual information. In plain terms, people remember how you smelled before they remember what you wore, what you said, or even what you looked like. Scent encodes emotion directly. A diplomat I have known for 15 years, one of the most quietly unforgettable women I have ever encountered, has worn the same fragrance since her early 30s. I asked her once why she never changed it. She said, "Because when I walk into a room where I have been before, I want people to know I have arrived before they turn around." She was not joking. She understood intuitively what the research confirms. The fragrance error elegant women never make is this: they do not rotate. They do not use a different scent for every occasion. They do not apply it inconsistently or skip it when they're just running errands. They have one signature, and they apply it to the same pulse points in the same quantity every day until it becomes part of how they are known. The resolve: choose one fragrance, wear it for 30 days without variation. If it still feels right at 30 days, it is yours. Apply to the inner wrists, the base of the throat, and lightly behind the ears. Never rub the wrists together. It breaks the top notes. This is not self-indulgence. It is a memory you are building in everyone you encounter. 3. The wardrobe choice that shrinks your presence. There is a specific wardrobe default that creeps in after 40, and it is dressed up, always in the language of practicality and comfort. I am not here to argue against comfort. I am here to show you what that default is actually communicating. The mistake is not a style choice. It is a proportion choice. Specifically, wearing volume on both the top and the bottom of the body simultaneously. Oversized jacket, wide leg trouser, flowy blouse, full skirt, relaxed everything. Women adopt this silhouette after 40 because they believe it conceals. What it actually does, and research from the Fashion Institute of Technology on visual perception confirms this, is reduce the apparent structural presence of the person wearing it. The body loses its architecture. The woman wearing the clothes becomes visually smaller than she is. I had a mentor early in my career, a woman in her 50s who ran the European operations of a brand I won't name. She wore one principle every single day: one fitted piece, one relaxed piece. Never both loose, never both structured to the point of severity. Always one anchor, one softness. I watched her walk into boardrooms of predominantly male executives and own the silence before she sat down. Her clothes were not expensive. They were proportioned. The resolve: the rule is 1 and 1. One fitted piece, trousers, a structured blazer, a tailored sheath, and one piece with ease. The contrast is what creates presence. Volume without contrast is visual noise. Proportion without softness is armor. The woman who has understood this is the woman the room remembers, which is something the Undeniable's complete system covers in detail. It's a complete blueprint for presence, identity, grooming, and wellness for women who are decided about how they age. It's linked in the description below. But here is where most women stop, and the next mistake is the one no amount of styling can compensate for, because it lives underneath everything else. 4. The skincare neglect that foundation cannot cover. This is the one that I wish someone had told me with more urgency in my mid-30s, because by the time most women address it, they are spending 10 times the money trying to correct what they could have preserved for almost nothing. The neglect is not about serums or retinol. It is about barrier function, the structural integrity of the outermost layer of the skin. And it is being quietly destroyed every day by one thing most women do not associate with aging: incomplete hydration protocol. A dermatologist I know in Manhattan, she has a clinical background and works with women in media and finance, explained it to me this way. After 40, the skin's natural ceramide production drops by approximately 30%. That means the barrier that holds moisture in and keeps environmental damage out is compromised. Foundation on compromised barrier skin does not look like coverage. It looks like texture. It looks like age. She said the single most underused intervention in her practice was not a prescription treatment. It was a ceramide moisturizer applied to damp skin every morning before anything else. The research supports this completely. A 2021 study in the Journal of Investigative Dermatology found that consistent topical ceramide application over 12 weeks produced measurable improvement in transepidermal water loss, the clinical marker of barrier integrity, equivalent to a decade's reduction in visible skin aging. The resolve: CeraVe Moisturizing Cream or La Roche-Posay Toleriane, applied to damp skin within 60 seconds of washing your face every morning. This is a $15 to $20 intervention that outperforms most treatments at 10 times the price. Foundation on healthy barrier skin looks like skin. That is the difference. And the final section is where everything I have just told you becomes a system rather than a list. I promised you something at the beginning of this video: the Elegant Morning Routine Checklist, 12 rituals of women who are timeless, healthy, and undeniable after 40. It is the morning architecture: ceramide protocols, brow standards, fragrance rituals, cortisol regulation, identity setting practices, written in the same framework we built today. Every ritual in it is a deliberate act of self-respect. The link is in the description. It is free. It is yours. 5. The 3 appearance non-negotiables. I want to close with something I have observed across every woman I have ever known who carries herself as though time is working with her rather than against her. Not for her, with her. As a collaborator, they do not share a wardrobe, they do not share a routine, but without exception, they hold 3 standards, 3 non-negotiables that operate regardless of budget, schedule, or circumstance. The first is pressed clothes, not dry cleaned, not expensive, pressed. A wrinkled blouse signals a woman who has stopped noticing herself. A woman who has stopped noticing herself signals it to every room. A handheld steamer, Conair or Rowenta, both under $40, takes 90 seconds. The return on that 90 seconds, in terms of how you are perceived and how you feel walking out the door, is extraordinary. The second is maintained shoes. I learned this from a woman I sat next to at a conference in Paris. She was in her 60s, impeccably dressed in what I could see was nothing remarkable, and yet the room moved around her. I looked down. Her shoes were simple, low heel, but the leather was conditioned, the sole was intact, and they looked as though someone had made a decision about them that morning. She told me later, people look down more than you think, and what they find there tells them whether you finished getting dressed or just stopped. The third is a controlled finish, meaning a woman knows how her presentation ends. She has looked in a mirror from a distance, not just up close. She has checked the back. She has confirmed that whatever she chose that morning has remained chosen throughout the day. The women who look expensive and effortless are not lucky. They are completed. They have a finished edge, and they check for it consistently. Here is the complete picture. Every mistake I've described today comes from the same root, the gradual accumulation of small, passive choices that communicate to every room you enter. I have stopped paying attention to myself, ignored brows, rotated fragrance, volume without proportion, compromised skin barrier, unpressed clothes, unworn shoes, unfinished edges. The elegant alternative is not expensive. It is deliberate. It is the decision made every morning that you are someone whose standards have not softened with time. They have clarified. That decision compounds. And the woman it produces, year after year, is not a woman trying to look younger. She is a woman who has simply become more of herself. 6. The makeup habit that ages a woman faster than time does. Most women over 40 are applying makeup the same way they did at 32. Same placement, same coverage, same finish. And what worked beautifully at 32 is doing something entirely different to the face at 45. But because the change happened gradually, most women cannot see it. I want to show you the specific habit I am talking about, and why correcting it takes nothing away and adds everything back. But first, there is something you need to understand about how light and skin interact after 40. A makeup artist I know, she has worked in film and television for over 2 decades and has prepared women from their 20s to their 70s for camera, told me something I have never forgotten. The face over 40 does not need more coverage. It needs more light. When women add coverage to compensate for what they think they are hiding, they end up hiding themselves. She was talking about the near universal habit of applying full coverage foundation across the entire face, then setting it with heavy powder, then adding contour to structure, a layering system that on skin with any texture or fine lines creates what she called the mask effect. The face looks covered, it does not look alive. Research from the Optical Society of America on how the human eye processes facial luminosity found that the perception of youth and health is primarily triggered by light reflection patterns, the differential between the highlights and shadows of a face. Heavy, matte coverage eliminates that differential. The face reads as flat, and flat in visual perception reads as older, not younger. The resolve? Elegant women after 40 do not abandon makeup. They edit it. Skin tint or light coverage foundation only where needed. Cream blush, not powder, placed high on the cheekbones and blended upward. A single point of luminosity, a light reflecting concealer or a subtle highlighter at the inner corners of the eyes and the top of the Cupid's bow. That is it. The goal is not coverage. The goal is light. And light is what makes a woman look like herself, only more so. What I'm about to give you next is the one that operates entirely below the level of conscious awareness, in the viewer and in the woman herself. 7. The nail standard most women have abandoned without realizing it. I want to ask you something. When was the last time you looked at your hands? Not your face, your hands, the way other people see them during a conversation. Most women answer this question with a slight pause, because they haven't. And that pause is precisely the problem I want to address. I need to show you why this matters in a way that goes beyond aesthetics, because this is not about nail polish. But first, there is something you need to understand about where attention actually goes when two people are talking. Years ago, when I was still in the fashion world, I attended a brand presentation at a showroom in Milan. The presenter was a woman in her early 50s, exceptionally well-dressed, composed, clearly senior in every way that mattered. I watched the buyers in the room. Within 2 minutes, every eye in that space had moved from her face to her hands, because she was gesturing, as presenters do, and her hands were telling a different story than the rest of her. The polish was chipped. Not dramatically, just at the edges, just enough. I sat next to one of the buyers at dinner that evening. Without prompting, she said, "Did you notice her hands?" That was the detail that survived the evening. Research from Harvard Business School on what observers assess during professional presentations found that hand appearance, specifically the condition of the nails, was one of the top 3 nonverbal signals used to infer a person's level of self-organization and attention to detail. Not what they said, not what they wore, their hands. A woman I know, a private equity director in her late 40s who sits on 2 boards, keeps one rule that she told me she's held for 15 years. She never attends a professional or social engagement with unfinished nails. Not elaborate. Finished. Her standing appointment is every 12 days. She told me, "My hands are in the room before I am. I want them to say the right thing." The resolve. Elegant women do not require elaborate nail work. They require one standard. Never chipped, never grown out beyond intention, never ignored. A clean nude or a soft blush, Essie's ballet slippers, OPI's bubble bath, maintained consistently, is more powerful than an elaborate design left to deteriorate. If polish is not sustainable for your schedule, a buffed, clear-coated natural nail is complete. Completion is the signal. Completion is what the room reads. You are not trying to reverse time. You are deciding to show up every day with the standards that time has earned you the right to hold. Subscribe and hit the bell. The women who keep showing up here are the ones who actually change. Isabel.